Tell us about tell us about the NGO and tell us about the concept of having people sustain themselves, right? As opposed to giving handouts, let's say, which is something that we've seen in the past and of course still happening.
I think we face a world of very significant challenges where we've discovered that just giving people handouts doesn't really work. We have to find a way of giving them the capability to help themselves, both in terms of people, organisations and communities. And what we've discovered is there are three primary inputs in health, education and enterprise that have to be integrated together to effect change. What we've discovered is if you can give people back their self-respect, then it's quite amazing how they become self-motivated to improve their environment, to actually not be a burden on others and to create special communities, and this seems to apply across the world.
How do you impose a self-respect for people to sort of this dignity?
Well, the first problem is that when people can't have a dream, they can't see a vision of a way out, they get into a place called learned helplessness. And as they approach learned helplessness, they can't deal with it, so they project into fantasies of violence and substance abuse and dysfunctional behaviour. These really can't be solved. We've tried many ways of trying to solve those problems and we're still not successful. But if you can rebuild self-worth in terms of each individual, in each community, then they move away from these displacement activities and you can start to reduce criminality, conflict, people move back to education, and women are actually vital in this equation. So it's really important that women take back their responsibility and their power. And we've found that putting women together in groups of three means that they're not isolated, they can resist the negative peer group pressures in the community, and they can start to achieve very substantial change.
Tell us about some of the recent projects you're working on and some of the changes that you've seen developing.
Well, to give you an example, in the UK, I was asked by the National Audit Office to look at education because there have been many criticisms in the UK that we've been factory farming the children to just produce pieces of paper rather than creating whole human beings. So in looking at that education system, we found that in many ways it was failing by not being driving values and virtues in the individuals, if you like, what was originally present in the spiritual schools, but then has been sort of moved away from in our society. There was a tendency for individuals not to be able to critically think, so they were always listening to the latest stories from their community, which often was around criminality and dysfunctional behaviour. And often they were not able to work together as teams. You know, sport was not recognised as a vehicle for growth, and therefore what happened is they became very isolated. And as they became isolated, a lot of them either sort of shut down or they actually became aggressive in the community. So what we're trying to do in education is to create a new framework, and we've found new ways of helping teachers to teach, which makes them 9 times more effective without actually spending any more money.
So what do you think the magic ingredients are?
The magic ingredient really is respect. It's about values, it's about allowing children to recognise their own creativity in the process, and the fact that if you respect that creativity, if you regard them as embryonic human beings that have huge potential, it's quite amazing what can be achieved. If children can learn in the first pass, then you can dramatically improve education. And what happens is if you can try and promote a system which is based upon loving kindness, which is probably what we need to do in the world. And again, I've just come back from China, and there the president is very much saying we need to create a harmonious world. We've tried capitalism, we've tried communism, we need to find the middle path.